Pet regret, many abandon dog or cat after lockdown, says survey in Mumbai. Alongside sourdough baking and virtual concerts, the other quarantine trend that exploded was pandemic pet adoption. With people confined to their homes and often suffering emotional distress, many flocked to pet shops and shelters to find a furry friend that would make lockdown less lonely. For many, the cat was their only companion and the dog walk, their only trip outside. But as the world moved on and the initial enthusiasm wore off, many of these new pet parents realized they weren't dog or cat people after all. The same animal shelters that had recorded high adoptions at the height of the pandemic are faced with an influx of pet surrenders due to buyer's remorse. Impulse pet adoptions were already quite common, points out Kirti Bhardwaj, a member of Animal Adoption and Care, a collective of animal lovers and rescuers in Mumbai. But during the pandemic, it went through the roof as people craved companionship without giving enough thought to what would happen when they went back to work or resumed their old lifestyle. To stay up to date with latest top stories, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the button above this video. While Bhardwaj has been fielding 6 to 8 calls every day from pet owners wanting to relinquish their dogs since lockdown lifted, there have been several instances of dogs and cats unceremoniously dumped at marketplaces, roadsides and parks. The launch of a first-of-its-kind study of pet homelessness, conducted by Mars Pet Care and an advisory board of animal welfare experts, last week confirmed this. India's data revealed that despite an increase in pet ownership during the COVID-19 pandemic, where 6 in 10 people felt encouraged to bring home a pet, relinquishment levels are higher in the country. 50% of pet owners said they had relinquished a pet since the pandemic began, compared to 28% globally. Many pets were abandoned at the beginning of the pandemic due to fears of whether pets could pass on the virus. Others took in a pet to stave off loneliness and later realized upkeep was not easy. If 34% said they had abandoned a dog on the streets, 32% admitted to having abandoned a cat. Among the 9 countries surveyed, India also recorded the highest pet homelessness with a score of 2.4 on a scale of 10, lower the score, worse the scenario, followed by Mexico at 3.9 and South Africa at 4. This doesn't surprise Aditi Nair, founder of Pet Owners and Animal Lovers Foundation, who stumbled upon Atlas, a 6-month-old Great Dane at a construction site in Thane about 8 months ago. He was very ill, had loose motions and a maggot wound, all a result of severe lack of care. The first thing we did was inform the local police station because someone might be looking for a lost pet. No one was, which meant he was abandoned, says Nair, who nursed Atlas back to health before he was rehomed and rechristened Gabber recently. Most abandoned dogs and cats are sick and/or come with behavioral issues because owners found their upkeep too expensive and exhaustive, says Nair, who for the last few months has been nursing 3 Persian cats, Sylvester, Oliver, and Peanut, all deserted outside a chawl in varying degrees of distress. Sylvester had maggot wounds on his tail and liver issues, while Oliver had multiple wounds, and Peanut was suffering from a viral infection and on the verge of losing an eye. There's a craze for Persian cats these days, and they're also being abandoned in large numbers because people buy them as a status symbol without knowledge of the breed's dietary or medical requirement. Yes, they're furry and cuddly, but also need special care and grooming. Not to be dumped because they shed hair. Pedigreed and exotic canines too are surrendered or discarded every day by owners unable to nurture them after the initial showing off. We've seen so many Labradors and Dobermans living on the streets. When taken out of a protective environment, they don't have the social skills to adapt to the street, can't fend for themselves, and die of maggot wounds, says Bhardwaj. According to animal welfare advocates, pet buyers don't always research beforehand. One has to understand that they're bringing home a life, not a use-and-throw toy, Nair stresses. The excuses typically range from return to office, couldn't find a full-time carer, to moving cities and allergies. Adopting a dog or a cat is like adopting a baby. One shouldn't make these decisions on an impulse if they're not able to commit their time and energy, reiterates Ganesh Ramani, managing director, Mars Pet Care India.